What's good, YouTube? We finally got a new event coming in, the Attribute 4 event, which brings us with the Earth, Water, Fire, and Wind attributes. So this is going to exclude the Light and Dark attributes that have been very annoying with the tier limits going around in the ladder, because that deck being like half dark, this deck is definitely not that deck is definitely not going to be present in this format. And with these four attributes, it's definitely going to give us some room for other archetypes, other decks, deck building that we're going to see people come up with. Definitely going to be a lot more interesting than what we see on ladder right now, because it's just tier limit varieties just going up, or just anti-tier limit decks. So it's just nice that we can finally see something new. Probably the most disappointing thing, in my opinion, about this event, though, is just the fact that it's only from April 19th to May 1st. So it's like 10, 11 days, which really sucks, because in February, when we had the last kind of like festival, format warping event with the Anthology and XYZ event, those two, first we got two, so we had more variety of like different formats, alternate formats to try out. And together it lasted 2 weeks. So this just being like 10, 11 days, like a week and a half basically, really sucks. I wish they, either extended this or did something like they did in February and giving us two events, bring back something like the fusion, like how they did it in February, where they gave us something new and then something returning, because, some people did like the returning XYZ event. So yeah, they definitely should have done something like that. I really do not like how they only give us one event to really play around with for a week and a half. But yeah, it looks like we have the same amount of rewards. They barely changed anything with the ban list from what I've seen for this, so they didn't really accommodate too much to my in my opinion. But yeah, I'm gonna be showing you 6 decks that I got that with my card pool I was able to build, and hopefully give you guys some ideas, see what you guys like, and let's move on to it. Alright, for my first deck that I'm going to be showing you is going to be the Prank Kids. So the Prank Kids are pretty good because literally nothing in the archetype is light or dark. And we can just see here that like they're very consistent archetype. Nothing was hit outside of like the regular ban list, which was the Link 1 cat, Meow Meow Moo. That's such a weird name to say. I kind of hate saying that name. But other than that, this deck has pretty much consistently been what it is, of like fusion summoning into Butler or going into the, I forgot what this one's called. It's just a Link 4 Roaster, and yeah, this deck is just great. I feel like it's gonna do great in this event. It's like flexible to add like a bunch of like tech cards. You can use, your lightning storms or your hand traps, although you can't be using a lot of hand traps because some of them are light and dark, but the two best ones are not. So you're definitely going to be seeing a lot of this. So it's the typical what is it, like the trifecta of like hand traps and like hand trap stopper of the Called By, Maxi, and Ash, and you're going to be seeing that with all the deck lists I'm going to be showing you. But yeah, on to like the actual Prank Kids. They're just going to be consistent. I feel like they're going to be doing well in this event. They have like a bunch of consistency cards, recycling. They're going to be playing a little more control due to the limitation of Meow Meow Moo. The only thing that's really been hit from like a standard Prank Kids deck compared to this event would just be we don't have the DPE package, and we also I'm actually grateful for this. They actually, for the adventure package that's run with a lot of these Prank Kid cards, is Griffin Rider. That's banned, so you won't be seeing that with this deck. So this is really, at least in my build too, it's mostly we're going to be seeing Prank Kids with just like a pure version, which is more than enough to handle like whatever the meta has, because Butler has like the Raigeki type of effect of destroying all monsters. And then the Roaster or Rooster, whatever you want to call this, has like the Harpy Feather Duster. So this is just going to be a great deck to really run in this event. And let's move on to the next one. So this is my Traptrix deck that I'm going to be bringing to the event as well. It's going to be running a lot of like the pure stuff that we have with the Trap Holes, Nightmares. We also have like the Trap Hole Gravediggers. And Bottomless is still just a great card, no matter, even though it's like 20 years old at this point. But since Labyrinth is out of the meta basically in this format because it being a dark deck, and that deck pretty much power crept this deck, but since it's completely gone, this is still fine. Like this deck can pretty much interact with almost any deck. I fail to see what can stop this deck. Um, with Sarah being versatile of getting into any of your other Traptrix cards, you can get any of your trap cards to stop what your opponents are going to be playing. This is going to be a very heavily controlled deck, so running anything you need. You're not going to be having fast games with this deck, but I think it will do just fine. Nothing at all was pretty much hit. The only thing I can remember from my regular deck list would just be Zeus. Since Zeus is a light monster, you won't be able to run it in this event. But everything else just works out perfectly fine. We have the Parallel Exceed to get into rank 4s. The Phantom Knights, to activate Sarah on turn 1. I will say that if you have 3 Sarahs, do run them. I only run 2 because I only own 2, and I don't want to craft because UR points are very hard to come by. So, yeah, this is my deck running for the event, and nothing really changed from the regular version, so I think it's going to be doing pretty well in this event. Next here we got Sharks. So Sharks is something I actually had for the XYZ event in February. It's such a nice deck to run, right? Nice, simple, pretty easy, like standard combos, like not long combos. You just have to go into basically, I'm trying to find him. It's that Kraken, Stealth Kraken, or Kragen with a G. The deck does well. I feel like Umi Control is being talked about a lot in like the community about like it being good because that really wasn't hit for this format. But Sharks completely ignore it because for any of you who don't know, and I'll put it on screen, the Umi, I forgot what the card is actually called, but that Umi card that floodgates you to only controlling one non-water monster on the field. It's something along those lines. This deck just basically does not care about that because like 98% of this deck is just water. And what's also nice about this deck too is just it's really cheap. Like you only need like one UR, which is this card, and like everything else you can just like substitute with anything else you need because this is just like your main combo. I do need one more of the Stealth Kraken spawn, but that's the thing, like running one is just fine enough. This deck is just so fine, like it's just like you can pop one monster with the Stealth Kraken. And it also has like a light floodgate of its own with only all face-up monsters on the field become water, so it can stop like a bunch of other archetypes. I think this deck is going to perform well with that. I don't know if like there's anything else to like really mention with it because it's just like a deck that's just also versatile with like its rank 3s, rank 4s, rank 5s. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be doing bad at all. Yeah, so let's move on to the next one. Now here I got Dinomist. Dinomist is actually a deck that I always run in like the majority of the festivals, mostly because it's cheap and really easy to play. For anyone who doesn't know, it's an OTK type of deck, so you can just like pendulum scales your monsters and then pendulum summon all your big monsters. I say big, but they're like medium range with like 2400, 2500 with Spinos, and you can just OTK because their effects activate when you destroy a monster by battle. So this is not a bad going second deck, although it's not bad going first either because we have this trap of Dinomist Howling. This deck did not get touched obviously because it's still not like really great deck. It'll definitely get better when we get more support because there's one card that's supporting this archetype that I don't know when's gonna come out. Hopefully soon. But the rest of it is just great. The Plazios allows you to subtract the attack and defense for each Dinomist card you control your opponent's monsters. So if anything is like too big, you can get over that with Plesios. And then we just have like the rest of the cards to just help us build the boards. Pot of Extravagance, because we don't really care about our extra deck. The main monsters can do everything you need. The only thing you really lost with this deck that you would run in the standard version would be Cyber Dragon Infinity, because that's a light monster, and you would make that with like your rank 5s, and it's just like a good negate because this deck definitely does not make negates. The only interruption this deck really does is with the Dinomist Howling, but outside of that, yeah, it's just like it's a very like simple, straightforward deck of just OTKing. So if you can pull that off, you're pretty much doing what the deck is meant to be doing. And I think this deck will still do fine because I'm telling you, like, from my experience playing this deck, I played this in, like, the majority of the festivals that we've had since Master Duel came out, and it's always performed well. Like, this is my go-to. It's cheap as well, too. Should have also mentioned that, like, it doesn't have any archetype UR cards. The most you'll need is the Dinomist Rex, which I probably should craft a third one. I probably will eventually, but that's the thing. It's like it's not even necessary. Like just two is fine. You do perfectly fine with like a deck list like this, because like I've said before, I've done well with this deck in other festivals. So yeah, let's move on to the next one. So the next deck list is going to be Salamangreat, and I think this is going to be the most common deck we'll see in the event because it is the cheapest deck to make because we have the 3 structure decks. On top of that, like not only is it just good with like its standard engine, it got kind of boosted with the last ban list that happened like a week ago with Gazelle coming back to 3, and then it didn't lose anything from this format's ban list. The only thing that really kind of hit it was Access Code Talker, but Access Code Talker is a dark monster, and like really it's like it just really added to the deck more than like the deck needing the card because that card allowed it to OTK. But this deck is just like Salamangreat is just like known to be a more controlled deck because people forget like before Access Code you would just run like multiple roars or rages and like just control the game that way, and then that's how you would eventually win like once you start like outpacing them with your resources and such, because some of the cards can recycle, reoccur, and yeah, the deck is just great like that. I kind of replaced that with Pyro Phoenix, see how that works out. Don't know if it will be, probably replace it as well, but you really just need to rely on the Sunlight Wolf. And I actually have Heat Leo because I also feel like Marincess is going to be very present in this format. And Heat Leo is probably like a good answer because it shuffles the spells and traps into the deck, which gets rid of like the field spell that Marincess has and like the equip cards that they also run. So yeah, I think this is also going to be a very good deck to run. Probably like majority of other people also are thinking the same thing with this deck. Again, because of the structured decks, it makes it easy to build. And yeah, there's really nothing left to change. I don't think you have to like change anything really from like a standard deck list that you would see on ladder. So yeah, this is the deck to run, I feel like. Now for my final deck list, we got Harpies. I'll let you know right now, this is probably my worst deck that I'm going to be showing you, but I'm going to be showing you because I already have majority of the cards from like crafting it like way back when Master Duel came out. And like since I already have the majority of the cards and they're all wins attribute, this works out for the event. So it's not hindered in the slightest. Like even like in a standard Harpies deck list, like they don't run anything that's like a light or dark attribute. So this works out just fine. And something to note specifically with this event is like we have Harpy Ladies, the normal Harpy Ladies, because something I didn't have that works well with this deck is actually Blackluster Soldier, the Link one, and that works. And to get into this, because it has the bonus effect of the level 7, which works out with the Harpy's Pet Dragon. This is probably the newest support that Harpy's got, and it's a very easy monster to bring out. It's a level 7. You bring out any Harpy monster, and then we have Harpy Lady to go into where is it? The World Chalice Dragon, which gives it 3 unique names because that's like the criteria for the Blackluster Soldier. And yeah, it's like an easy monster. It's kind of a towers type of monster, and I feel like in these type of events, those are really hard to out. So this deck probably wants to aim for this. But like the Cyber / Harpy Lady is also good. We have some Morg as well, which just helps with like reoccurring. This deck is like not bad. It's just not great. It's definitely going to be on the lower end of the power, like in the format. Single-handedly, what will carry this deck will be Harpy's Featherstorm, because this card's crazy, especially in Harpies because you can activate it from your hand. So you'll definitely win some games off of this. But I definitely need to tinker a bit with this deck still to see like what else to add, especially when like we see what the format is. Maybe specific hand traps need to be placed in. But overall, this deck is just, it's decent. Like I'm not gonna lie to you guys and say like this deck is gonna be like amazing. You're gonna go on a crazy win streak. This deck will do just fine. And yeah, you can run it at full power because of like it just being a win deck. I'm trying out Summon Storm because I realize how this card's actually pretty decent. Because the problem with Harpy decks is like it's a little too normal summon reliant. And with this card, like you can start bringing out your Harpies more, and that's how you can start getting your plays going. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, also to know, obviously, like for anyone who doesn't know, Harpies is just really good at destroying back row. So this is another reason why, like, if the format becomes like very spell and trap heavy, then this deck will probably be boosted up by a bit because not by a bit. I'm sorry, by a lot because it just has so many ways to remove the spells and traps. On top of it, like Chidori, Lightning Chidori, well with getting rid of back row. So yeah, this is definitely one of the decks you can run. And with that being said, that's like all the decks I got for you. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys think any of this is like even worth, or any suggestions about how it should be run, definitely let me know in the comments below. I'll catch you guys in the next one.